Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another Pokemon TCG video. Today we have a pretty cool deck for you. This is actually the deck that won the Malaysian National Championships. And we're going to take a look at this right here. It's an Yveltal Raichu deck, but it has a few twists in here that make the deck certainly interesting. So let's just take a look at the main attackers. First off, Yveltal EX. You should probably know what this does by now. Evil Ball is just ridiculous. Does 20 plus 20 for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. That's Yveltal EX and your opponent's active, so this just does tons of damage very quickly. We also have Y Cyclone. Does 90, and then you get to move an energy off of Yveltal EX to one of your benched Pokemon. So just two incredibly strong attacks on a Darkness type Pokemon, which of course has all of the wonderful support like Dark Patch. Hands down, this is the best card in the game, in my opinion. So Yveltal EX, we have two of these, and then we also have a very heavy line of Raichu. Now, Raichu, I would say, is only good because Yveltal EX is so popular, and it's weak to lightning. See the little symbol down there? That changes everything. So Raichu can do 100 with Circle Circuit if your bench is full. 100 times 2 is 200, which knocks out Yveltal EX for just 2 colorless energy or a single double colorless energy. So a very efficient attacker against the best card in the game. That's why we have Raichu. This also doubles as a counter to Pyro decks. Since we have a heavy evolution line, we can normally deal with those Pyro decks as well. And anything that's weak to lightning gets dealt with by Raichu, including Lugia EX as well. So there we have Raichu and Yveltal EX. Those are the two standard cards. We also have Darkrai EX, a couple of these, another standard card to put in a deck like this, mainly for its Dark Cloak ability. Gives your Pokemon that have any Darkness energy free retreat. And then it also has Night Spear, does 90 and then 30 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. In terms of attacking, Darkrai is almost entirely outclassed by Yveltal EX, but the 180 HP, the alternate weakness, and Dark Cloak definitely give it a spot in this deck. And also hitting the bench is cool sometimes as well. Alright, so those are our three main attackers in here. We also have one Bouffalant. Of course, it has that ability Boofer, which makes it take 10 less or 20 less damage from attacks. Jeez, I can't talk. But Gold Breaker is what we're using it for. 60 plus 60 if the defending Pokemon is a Pokemon EX. Alright, so again, those 170 HP EXs, we can Gold Breaker for 120. Muscle Band will make it do 140. And then between Hypnotoxic Laser, poisoning the defending Pokemon, and Verbank City Gym adding 2 more damage counters, Gold Breaker does 140. Plus 30, that's 170 damage, which means we can knock out something like an Yveltal EX, a Mewtwo EX, Keldeo EX, or Quasi EX. Any EX with 170 HP goes down to this combo. Pretty good. And it's a non-EX attacker. Bouffalant is pretty cool. Now, I would say the most unusual card in this deck is going to be Landorus EX. We don't see this guy a whole lot anymore, but this is just kind of, taking the metagame into account. We know Yveltal EX is a very popular card. We know Raichu is the most popular counter to the most popular card. And Landorus EX happens to knock out Raichu for 1 energy with Hammerhead if we have a Muscle Band. So Hammerhead will do 30 and then 30 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. That's a really good attack, actually. Landorus EX has always been a very solid card. The main purpose here is to knock out Raichu, and it can also hit the bench against other decks. But just think about it. A Raichu comes out and tries to Circle Circuit your Yveltal EX. Well, an easy response is just this Landorus EX with a Muscle Band, and it's just a Hammerhead for a knockout, and you get to do 30 to bench Pokemon. So Landorus EX is a pretty cool Pokemon to throw in here as well. Our last Pokemon is actually Jirachi EX. Stellar Guidance is great for consistency purposes, because as you'll see in a minute here, this deck really does skimp on the supporter cards. But with Jirachi EX, it helps out quite a bit sometimes. So let's take a look at those supporter cards right now. This is actually a very, very skimpy line, I would say, in terms of supporter cards. but it ends up being just enough. We have 4 Professor Juniper, 4 N, 2 Chorus, and, that's it for the draw cards. We have 1 Lysander as well. We also have Computer Search, which can act as a draw card sometimes. It can search for a supporter, it can search for anything. So it's kind of like we have 11 draw cards, but the Jirachi EX actually gives us access to more things since we have 4 Ultra Ball as well. So if you think about it, we have 8, 10 supporters here, 11 with Jirachi. We have 11 ways to find a supporter with Jirachi, 12 with Computer Search, 16 with Ultra Ball. So it actually kind of works out pretty well. You're actually sometimes better off playing a Jirachi EX instead of an additional supporter, since you can search for Jirachi and use Stellar Guidance. Anyway, long tangent there, but kind of explaining why this is in here and why the list is the way it is. Okay. Our other cards here, we have 3 Dark Patch, just for energy acceleration. We've already looked at the Laser and the Verbank. We have 1 Pokemon Catcher in addition to that Lysander. You never know which one's going to be better. I guess we can run 1 of each. Why not? 1 Energy Switch gives us a little versatility, moving some energy around. Professor's Letter allows us to search out our energy. This is very important, giving an extra way to find those fighting energy for Landorus EX. A Startling Megaphone can be nice, just to discard the tools off of your opponent's Pokemon. This could be good against Garbodor as well, to regain our Dark Cloak with Darkrai and get some free retreat again. 1 Switch, this is just nice to get out of those special conditions sometimes. Like Sleep is the biggest one, but Switch is just always a pretty good card in general. And then we did see the 4 Ultra Ball already. We've seen pretty much every other card here. This deck actually runs a lot of energy. I was pretty surprised. 8 Darkness Energy, 2 Fighting Energy, and 4 Double Colorless for a total of 14 energy. Normally, we see these kinds of decks only running about 12 energy, something like that. Sometimes even as low as 11 with Professor's Letter, but this has 14 and Professor's Letter, so quite a bit, I would say. I may consider dropping a Darkness for a 4th Dark Patch in this kind of a deck, but this, again, is the list that won the Malaysian National Championships, so hey, it had to be doing something right. Okay, so let's go ahead and see this Yveltal Raichu deck in action. I got a game here on Pokemon TCG Online, and we'll see what happens. Starting off with Bouffalant, not the greatest starter in the world. You would pretty much prefer to start with anything else except Jirachi. But Bouffalant is a pretty slow starting Pokemon. It's really only good in the middle or the end of a game to get big one-hit knockouts at some point. Otherwise, it's just not going to be that great. Now, we do see a Kyurem and a Deoxys from my opponent, so this is going to be obviously a Team Plasma deck. Traditionally, Team Plasma decks are pretty difficult for Yveltal decks because, well, Thundurus EX puts a hurtin' on our Yveltal EX. It's weak to Lightning, so with Raiden Knuckle, Deoxys EX, Muscle Band, these things start to add up, and before you know it, your Yveltal EX gets knocked out for 1 energy, and they're getting additional energy in play. But we do have Landorus EX to work with, so this will be kind of interesting. Now, my opponent played a Chorus Machine, did not get a regular energy attachment on the first turn. So this makes me think, alright, there's no possible way Bouffalant can get knocked out here. Let's see, even with, I think, let's see, if there's an energy, another Deoxys, a Laser, and a Verbank, let's see, that's still short of a knockout because of Bouffalant's Boofer. So instead of benching those Pokemon and letting them get hit by a Frost Spear, I'm just going to pass and leave Bouffalant as my only Pokemon, knowing that there's nothing that could really come down to knock me out. Besides, like a Lugia, double Chorus Machine, double Colorless, and a Switch, and if that happened, I would accept it. I would say that happening is very unlikely, so I'll just hold my Pokemon and have them not get hit by Frost Spear. So there we go. A little thing there that can end up making a world of difference. Alright, so Bouffalant's going to take 50 thanks to the Boofer ability. And, this is looks like a deck that's running both Lugia and Kyurem. Usually we see one or the other, but this deck happens to be running both. So that might be troublesome. against the Lugia version, Landorus EX is very good against Thundurus EX. It's weak to fighting. Landorus resists lightning, so it ends up being a pretty good trade-off, but when there's Kyurem in the mix, Landorus is weak to water, so it might not be pretty. Alright, so I'm not really sure what we should be doing here. I do have an N that I'm going to play. I guess we'll put a Darkness Energy onto the Darkrai, and we'll throw down the Verbank City Gym. That's actually pretty big to get there, and that'll have that poison add up very quickly, so that Kyurem will be knocked out if it stays there. And that's going to be a pretty big deal. Now I have this Yveltal EX. I'm not sure whether or not to bench it. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and put it down. And look at this. We have 5 different Pokemon in play. Kind of silly. My opponent also has 5 different Pokemon in play. So, wow. This is a very diverse game right now with all sorts of different Pokemon. Who says Pokemon just boring, same old things all the time? Look, we got 10 different Pokemon on the field. Alright, so I could leave Bouffalant to get knocked out there, but I feel like that's probably not the best thing to do. Bouffalant could be good later on for a big gold breaker at some point, so I'm going to retreat into the Darkrai. There's no real way for my opponent to knock out a Darkrai in one hit with Kyurem, so I'm happy just putting it out there. I don't really attack with Darkrai a whole lot, so I'll just be happy to throw Darkrai up there and say, just, soak up a hit this turn. And the next turn we can actually Hammerhead and get a knockout on Kyurem if it stays there because of the Hypnotoxic Laser, the poison damage adding up. Now I got the wonderful Triple Ultra Ball, which I'll go ahead and play for a Raichu just to make sure that evolves, and we're trying to get a fighting energy off of this N to 6, and beautiful, got it. Gonna go ahead and retreat, and here is an opportunity to use Landorus EX. We can Hammerhead, that'll do 30 damage, and then the poison will finish off that Kyurem, and then we can go ahead and hit probably just the Thundurus EX as well, soften that up a little bit, and we'll see what we can do from here. This is going to be a very interesting game. We did take the first prize. 3 of our Pokemon are damaged, but that may not end up mattering. We'll have to see. Got a lot of game ahead of us. We'll have to see if my opponent has a second Kyurem to work with, or if this is just kind of a tech one of, and then, Lugia is the focus. Here is an Ultra Ball, so this will probably be pretty telling, and yes, there is the Kyurem coming out right there, so I know I have to be worried about a second Kyurem hurting my Landorus EX at some point. And there is the Raid Knuckle for 30 damage. Not the most intimidating thing in the world. We can definitely deal with this. A Water Energy goes on to the Kyurem on the bench, and then a Plasma Energy goes on to the Lugia after the Raid Knuckle. So, this is actually almost a spot where I have too many options. What am I doing? Alright, we're going to go for the Hypnotoxic Laser on the active Thundurus EX. And I'm going to power up Darkrai. This may be strange, but I'm going to try to hit a Muscle Band this turn. And then hit Thundurus EX for 100 damage. 3 additional damage from the Verbank and Poison. And then I'm going to hit the Kyurem for 30. So if Kyurem ever comes out, we're going to get a 3-prize Night Spear with Darkrai. Right, knock out Kyurem. I just need another Muscle Band or a Laser. And then finish off the Thundurus EX on the bench as well. So this seems like a pretty good move here, I think. I'm not really sure. So many options going on. I have so many supporters. Jeez. What do I do with this many supporters? Now we actually see Glaceon there with the Freeze Zone, given free retreat. Retreating into the Glaceon for free. Then getting a switch into the Thundurus EX. And there we do see another Raid Knuckle here after an attachment to the Kyurem. So my opponent is building up quite a bit of energy here. Looking pretty intimidating at this point. Landorus EX is kind of stuck in the active spot, unfortunately. He doesn't have a Darkness Energy on him, so I can't retreat. I would have loved to do something besides leave Landorus out here this turn, but if I do that, I cannot attack the Thundurus. Could go for a Chorus for 10, see if that works out, but I'm going to go ahead and just attach a DC to the Raichu on the bench, just to prepare for pretty much anything, right? If Kyurem comes out, we can attack it with Darkrai. If Lugia comes out, we can attack it with Raichu. It all seems pretty good to me. And we can just finish off Thunderous EX here with that Hammerhead attack, taking 2 prizes, going down to 3 prizes, and we'll probably hit the Kyurem for 30 just to soften it up a little more. Seems like the only real logical target here. Lugia is an option, but, you know, Raichu can just knock that out in 1 hit, so we'll go with the Kyurem instead. Seems to make sense. Right? I think so. Alright, so we'll go for that. Take our 2 prizes. My opponent also hasn't really played any supporters, so he may just have a kind of a dead hand here. I'm not really sure. We'll find out. And Kyurem does come out. We'll see. He does need a 3rd Deoxys or a Muscle Band here to Frost Spear for the knockout, and Energy could be a Blizzard Burn. But no, we do see that 3rd Deoxys, and yeah, Kyurem is very potent against Landorus EX, unfortunately. Gonna be a very easy knockout. There is the Frost Spear, and something can get a hit on the bench for 30 as well. Looks like Yveltal EX is gonna get hit for that 30 damage. And here I am just trying to figure out what's the best route to go. It's actually kind of tricky. My thought process here is, I want to knock out Kyurem, but if I just go down to 1 prize, I should be able to just take a knockout and win the game. I'm not really sure if this was the correct route to go, but seems like the easiest one to get a win. And we'll just try to thin out my hand a little bit, make sure an N won't hurt me in case my opponent got one of those. But basically it looks like my opponent's going to have to knock out Raichu with the Kyurem, and then I should just be able to Night Spear for the win. Make sense? I think it makes sense. Otherwise, there could have been something weird where, there's like a DCE and a catcher knocking out the Raichu, and then Lugia could have swept the game. Not something I want to see. So I'm going to take what I felt like was the safest route. It did open me up to an N to 1, but even with an N to 1, my opponent would have needed some other way to knock out Raichu that wasn't named Kyurem, and that didn't seem very possible with such a low hand size. But we do see a Chorus now. Something I didn't take into account was, the fact that my opponent could use something besides Kyurem to knock out Raichu. So even though I have that Darkrai fully powered up, I don't really have a way to knock out a Deoxys or a Thundurus. So we could be in a little bit of trouble here, depending on what happens. Now, the good thing for me is that a Lugia EX cannot come down, since that Thundurus EX came down. So my opponent will have to take quite a few knockouts in order to actually win the game. Right, it's going to take a while to knock out this Raichu. Well, that's going to happen this turn. And then the Darkrai, and then a 3rd Pokemon. I think by that point I should be able to win. And we do have a Chorus for a monumental 9 cards. So we should be able to pull something off here. But we do see that Raid Knuckle. We'll see what it powers up. Probably, well, looks like it's actually going to be Deoxys. I was thinking it would be the Kyurem, but no, it was Deoxys. Alright, so we have 4 Juniper in hand. My goodness. I have a computer search. Thing is, I don't really know what I'm taking with this. So I'm actually going to Chorus for 9 and just kind of wait to see what I draw, and maybe I'll redraw it with a better combination of cards, and that's exactly what happened. Now we can go ahead and computer search for the Hypnotoxic Laser, and that means I'll be able to actually Gold Breaker for the game. So saving that Bouffalant early on, and then sending out the Darkrai to take a hit, ended up being kind of a game-winning play at the end. And you can see every little thing counts, as our Bouffalant that barely survived at the beginning gets the Gold Breaker, Muscle Band, Laser, Verbank, knockout on that Thundurus EX for the game. And we managed to steal a win off of this Team Plasma deck. And now we have the bonus wheel on Pokemon TCG Online. One of the coolest things they just implemented. We actually get a bonus every time we finish a game. So we got a mystery surprise. We'll have to see what that is in a second here. Landorus EX's MVP. We'll see what we got. Are you kidding me? We got a token. Okay, so our prize was a token. You can actually get cool things like promo cards, so definitely start playing ranked matches to get in on the bonus wheel. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.